Yeah, Crystal, you want to jump in there first?
Sure, I can talk a little bit. Well, we know that SNAP reduces healthcare costs. We know it improves health. We know it improves birth outcomes for babies. So we expect there to be an impact on the health and well-being of our nation across the country. We also know that there is an economic impact of SNAP. For every dollar that somebody spends on SNAP, it generates up to $1.80 in economic activity. So that is really important in local communities. We know how important SNAP is to support local rural grocery stores, and so we're worried about that as well. So I think it's fair to say that there are huge hunger, health, economic concerns about moving forward with a $186 billion cut to SNAP.
Yeah, I'll just add that, this ends up being another war on family farmers that the administration is waging as well. 187 billion cuts to SNAP is $25 billion in direct revenue hit to America's family farmers. It's less food that is going to be purchased. It's jobs that will disappear because there's not as much food being driven to the retailers, the grocery stores, the workers who put the food on the shelves. This is an entire ecosystem that, of course, starts with the food grown by family farmers and ends with feeding hungry Americans. And so, this administration continues to demonstrate over and over and over again that, in fact, they don't love family farmers. In fact, they continue to decimate their markets, export markets, domestic markets. They're not expanding. Farm-to-food programs in our nation's schools, USAID, all of it adds up, and the SNAP program is $25 billion in direct revenue to family farmers that's gone, period.
Mm-hmm. And just to add a little bit to that component that Representative Craig so eloquently described with local farmers, it's not just the devastation to the SNAP programs. It's all of the other decisions that have been made by the Trump administration and Secretary Rowlands leading up to this. One of the first cuts announced when Elon Musk was still around was a cut to a program that worked with local farmers and ranchers that had contracts with food banks to get them their local food. Well, these farmers and ranchers don't just decide one week into the next what they're going to grow or what they're going to raise. They enter into these conversations and negotiations a year in advance. They change who they're going to sell their food to, how they're going to grow, what they're going to grow, and what they're going to get product to market. Well, from one day to the next, a program that existed and contracts that had already been signed were eliminated. That was blow number one to local farmers and ranchers. When you talk about the negative impact to this particular program, well, it hurts every corner of the United States. It's going to devastate in rural communities. Now, the reason I say that is think about rural grocery stores. So the cuts to health care already, the elimination of Medicaid dollars at the federal level by that big, beautiful bill is going to hurt rural health clinics. No one's been talking about rural grocery stores. I don't know, over 10%, 20% of the revenue that goes to these local grocery stores comes from SNAP beneficiaries. Think about the smallest towns all across America who work hard just to get that grocery store. I'm thinking of an incredible little co-op that was started in a small town in New Mexico because the other grocery stores left. So they said, we're going to do this. And you know who's going to be the owners of this thing? The farmers and ranchers that are supplying the food to it. What happens when these programs go away? Those rural grocery stores close. Now folks are having to travel not 30 minutes to get to a grocery store, but hours to try to find local food. I mean, it's problem on problem, but the devastation of farmers and ranchers, it is real and it needs to be understood. Think about the wellness to kids, just to grow up healthy. I mean, there's probably a lot of coffee drinkers in this room. How do you all feel when you don't drink your coffee in the morning? Can you imagine not getting food in your belly? How are you going to function? How are you going to work? What does that mean to your well-being when you're a young child and just trying to get through the day and learn? It's devastating. So I don't know that there's enough emphasis to describe the pain that has been intentionally sent to families in every corner of America and families that live in rural parts of the country like I do. This is horrible.